I've known Steve Killius, Vice President of Contractor Industry Affairs and Programs at Legrand for 20 years. Our paths have crossed over the years, mainly at construction industry shows. And often we just have a few minutes to chat as we pass, and then we're off working the show. So the reason I wanted to have him on the show is that he is one of those peers that is passionate about the industry he works in. I mean, sure, it's his job, but you can tell it's bigger than that to him, and that's inspiring to me. We're going to touch on some of the similarities and differences of the needs of the smaller contractors versus their larger peers. We're going to talk a little bit about his work with various contractor associations, and then we're going to wrap up with some insights onto his work in construction industry research and his thoughts on tech trends. Before we get into this, I want to give Steve a few seconds here to introduce himself by answering the first question: who is Steve Killius?
Oh, okay. I'm Steve Killius. That's who.
Okay.
I started out as an electrician's helper. Took a bit of a detour, but here I am now, a VP at Legrand, working to make life easier for contractors and apprentice electricians across the country. I spent almost 4 decades in electrical and the communications world. I still get fired up about helping the next generation succeed. I'm a family guy, a car nut. I still believe in hard work. I still believe in trusting people and doing things the right way, and even if it means getting my hands dirty now and then.
Welcome to Keeping the Lights On. I'm your host, Todd Reed, and on this podcast, I connect with the owners and pros who design, build, and maintain our electrical, communications, and industrial world to explore the best ways forward. Let's get into the show. One way to kind of get to know each other and kind of learn from each other is over a meal. So I like to start out each episode by, if I or a guest or one of our listeners were to visit you in your hometown, where might you take us to eat, and why would you choose this place?
I think I'd take us to Hall's Chop House. It's the best steakhouse in Charleston. They recently opened another one up in my town of Somerville, and they built an exact model of the one downtown. It's a great experience. In addition to a great steak, but one of the things I like about the place is their professional service people there. They really know how to read the guest, and they know when to leave you alone, when to give you space, and that would allow us to have a nice, relaxed conversation.
What's your favorite thing to get there?
Honestly, anything on the menu will work for me, but today I'm going to choose a filet, and how about a nice bottle of Cab? Is it too early? It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
It's 5 o'clock, yeah. Just right off the coast there, you're good. It's 5 o'clock over there. Yeah, I mean, filet, I love a great filet. Do they you add anything to it? Sauce?
I'm a bit of a purist when it comes to a steak. Grind a little pepper on it and let's go.
How do you spend your typical day in what you do?
Well, as VP of Contractor Industry Affairs and Programs for Legrand's Electrical Wiring Systems Division, my mission is to demonstrate our value as a partner to the electrical contractor, to the industry. And we do that working through associations and working through their affiliated apprenticeship programs. There's a typical day, there really isn't one, which is one of the things I like most about this role. Sometimes I might be working exclusively contributing to the operation of these outside organizations. Other times I'm helping our internal team create awareness and education around the electrical industry and the contractor. It's constantly evolving. It requires being adaptable. The industry shifts, the contractor needs shift, and that's keeps things exciting and energizing. Maybe pun intended there.
It's allowed. Puns are allowed. Okay. All right. Well, so how do you define success in this role?
I think being recognized for contributing to the company being seen as that industry partner and not just a supplier of things. Another way, when a newly minted electrician knows the brand, I think that's a big win. When contractor stakeholders can name us as a resource, they see us as somebody that they seek out early in the process as a subject matter expert. I think those are the measures of succeeding in this role.
All right. So you're very focused on customers, a market, construction, contractor specifically. Let's touch a little bit on the customer experience, and let's talk about smaller contractors versus larger, and can be kind of somewhat loosely defined. Everyone kind of defines them a little differently, but you were sharing some census data with me when we did our prep call and kind of pre-talking, and I wonder if you could maybe break down the two groups and what's the makeup of the market and how do you approach them?
Well, the Census Bureau says there are more than 70,000 registered electrical contracting firms in the U.S. That represents some 700,000 electricians.
Wow.
More than 80% of those firms have 20 or fewer employees. That's a massive universe of small contractors, and they represent about half the spend on electrical materials. It's easy to become focused on the large strategic contractors, and good reason, right? There's a lot of business. That's the other half of the electrical spend.
Right.
But as a manufacturer and a supply chain partner, we don't want to overlook the rest of that pool. It's a challenge. We need to find a way to become indispensable to the small contractor too. We want to ensure we don't surrender that business to some other channel that doesn't support us.
Right. Well, let's talk about shared qualities between the different sizes and then maybe differences. But let's first start looking at what are shared qualities between the smaller contractor and the larger that you've noticed?
Regardless of size, every contractor has a need for getting quality material, the stuff, right? They need the right level of technology, if you will. Everybody needs it delivered where and when it's needed, and everybody could benefit from getting it in a manner that helps their processes. That part's the same. We need quality, we need on-time delivery. We need assurances that we have what we need to do the job.
Right. What about differences that you've noticed between the two?
Well, I think one of the biggest differences is small contractors don't have an individual assigned to every role. So, for example, the owner of a small firm might be doing business development. They're out selling the firm. Then they're estimating. Then they're buying. Then they're doing project management. They don't have the luxury and the time to master each one of those steps or processes. So they just often don't have time to do everything right or to take advantage of everything that's out there to help them. So I think the task becomes ours to find a way to educate the small contractor to take advantage of the things that you and I offer. There's a lot of service. It's not just price and delivery, but there's a lot of other things that go to the success of a project. So it's on us to help them realize that we as a supply chain can add productivity, we can add efficiency, we can make things more sustainable. That's something we need to do for the smaller contractor. The large contractor has people, focused on each of those different roles, and that also because of their size, they get more attention. So we need to find a way to communicate those things to the small contractor.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that kind of goes into my next question there. So how do these differences impact the way you approach, the way you work with these two different groups?
Yeah, there's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
As an organization, we have enough bandwidth, if you will. We have enough people on the street, but between the Legrand sales and demand creation people and our agencies, we're pretty confident that a contractor with 50 or more electricians probably has better awareness of us and the resources available to them. They're likely seeing our representatives. For the small contractor community, we rely heavily on our distribution partners like Graybar to reach these people. And of course, then the industry outreach we do through associations gets us a better awareness with that audience. And then the branding opportunity we get through apprenticeship support. There's no immediate return to that, but that there's a benefit to them knowing who you are, what you do, what you bring to the table.
Well, I'm glad you did mention associations like IEC, NECA, Electri. There are a few others out there that, work with contractors. And I think having worked in small business before, I know that industry associations are a great way for a smaller organization to kind of get more insight into the industry and a little bit more voice into the industry that maybe you may not get, by yourself, but you can get more. So, I mean, it's in your title basically, but I know this is where you and I run into each other most of the time, or at association national kind of meetings. And so this is obviously a way for you to get insight, and I've gotten insight from the customer and what's important to them. And obviously you spend a very, portion of your time, again, as I said, it's in your title, working with them. So what is your focus when you're working with these organizations?
Interestingly, the contractor associations mirror the industry. About 80% or better of their membership represents their firms fewer than 20 people. So we recognize that it's a great way to reach out and touch and have an effect on a great portion, that great universe of contractors that we're not going to see personally. We won't be standing on their doorstep. Then getting involved with the affiliated apprenticeship programs furthers that reach by touching future generations, right? By branding. We want people to see the product. We want their hands on it. We want them to know that we're a partner. And then and so those things broaden the audience a great deal. You layer that on top of the work that you do at Gray Bar. Then we're starting to reach a lot of people. We can't do it personally. And then our involvement with Electri International gets us inside with industry leaders and influencers. And that's where we learn to best innovate the things to meet evolving needs.
So what advice would you give to contractors, specifically smaller ones, on how to interact with their association of vendor members, meaning manufacturers, distributors, software firms, whoever are at the shows?
I think, first and foremost, if you're going to be a member of an association, then you need to participate in the association. Mm-hmm. There are many contractors who tell me the number one reason they are in an association is for apprenticeship. It's great. It's a great benefit. It's something that they need to do. We need it as an industry. However, the associations are also a wealth of other benefits. And there are a lot of people there to learn from. Think about talking to your 18-year-old self. Consider your small company to be your 18-year-old self and start reaching out to people. This association is a peer group. Mm-hmm. It's a wealth of information you can learn from others, share best practices. You can reach out because there are industry partner members as well. You can learn about software. You can learn about material. You can learn from the supply chain partners. So it's not enough to stroke the check, to join an association, to put your apprentices in the program. You need to be involved. You need to serve, get involved with committees, go to the meetings. The benefits will be exponential if you just get involved.
I think you're probably going to answer similarly, but I'm curious if you'd have any advice to I would say a young person, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be a younger person. But we'll just say that a younger person in the supply chain, again, from any of those organizations. What advice would you give to them as they're involved at the local level at an contractor association, that they're representing their manufacturer?
Yeah, I think it's the same for everyone. If you're in this industry, you should be an active participant, right? Okay. So whether you're a salesperson for a manufacturer, or you're an account rep for a distributor, or you're working in a contractor, these groups, these associations, other trade groups, these are great places to do that thing where you find the masters, people to learn from. Mm-hmm. And so I think you need to get connected. You need to get involved. You need to serve. Those are the people that I think that are going to succeed. This stuff is moving. Everything's moving so fast. you can't stop learning. And I just think it's important to be engaged in your industry.
Okay. Well, I know one way that you're involved is through an organization called Electri International. And I've had Josh and others on, talk about Electri on this show, but just maybe I'm going to ask a couple really short questions here, and then we'll get into the meat of it. But just real quick, what is Electri International?
Yeah, I was going to say, for anybody who doesn't know, Electri International is the foundation for electrical construction. The foundation funds research and education to benefit the electrical construction industry and the electrical construction contractor and the electrical worker. For more than 40 years, Electri has created content that will help a contractor run their business, will help them understand the marketplace. And while Electri was founded by and continues to be funded and run by NECA contractors, the content they produce is available to anyone. And the best part about it is it's free.
Yeah.
So wow. I recommend checking out Electri. It's a fantastic organization.
Yeah, they're good. It's good information. I mean, so basically, just correct me if I'm wrong, basically every year there's 5 projects, I think, that are kind of commissioned, give or take.
We do. I sit on the program review committee. This is the group that looks at all the proposals that come in and narrow them down to be taken in front of the full council for voting on funding. Okay. And we do this basically twice a year. So anywhere from 6 to 10 projects a year get funded.
And these are professors, consultants?
All of the above. We do full academic research. Okay. We will have roundtable type of participation where we use the intelligence that's in the room to create the content, or we'll go to outside consultants.
Okay. Yeah, I've used the information for my 20 years here. It's incredible. And the cool thing is it is free, and it's not just for NECA contractors, it's for everybody, because almost all of them are construction or electrical construction generally, not union specific. So it's great.
It's a fantastic organization. Most recently, some projects have come out that are extremely helpful to a contractor today, especially someone who's trying to scale and grow. Projects on standard operating procedures, KPIs, even a recent one that I helped chair the task force on, managing rework, which flat out shows a contractor how to put a lot of money back on their bottom line. It's fantastic.
Is there anything about any of these projects or others that you've seen that really caught your attention that just kind of got you thinking? Because I know you're a curious guy, and any insight into any of those that really caught you?
It's funny. As a standalone, any one of those reports is a fantastic tool for a contractor. Mm-hmm. But what you start to realize is that these things all work together. You have SOPs, but you use the KPIs and back and forth. You do both based on the other. Managing rework requires you to have SOPs. It requires you to have KPIs. And then you start looking back over the years of research and you start realizing, they're all organs of the same organism. And they really do require each other. It's phenomenal. Some contractors immediately latch onto this content and apply it to their business and see great benefits. And I would encourage, as you said, anyone in the industry can get this and learn from it.
So through Electri and maybe the shows, what have you seen regarding technology challenges with AI and tech stacks for contractors?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is that it's all moving so fast. We'll set AI aside for a moment, but most contractors use a number of software packages to run their business. They've got an ERP to handle the business side of things. They might be using an estimating software, a procurement and material management software, a labor management software, a project management software. They're still using spreadsheets. They're still using a number of tools. The best of the best in this tech world still use 5 or 6 pieces of software to run their business. But today, there's a lot of money flowing into construction technology. And so it's getting better. Most of these packages are able to work together. And even small contractors, because of the proliferation of these software solutions, even small contractors have options. They can affordable options that they can start to implement technology. Now, AI is already a useful tool for parts of the business. It can review specs. It can find problems between the drawing and the written specification. It can review the legal aspects of a contract. It's being used in many ways, but again, it's moving so fast that even at Electri, we've had to kind of step back from some of these proposals we get, because if we spend 6 months to a year developing a research report, it may be totally obsolete. So that's presenting some interesting challenges.
Okay. You wanted to set aside AI for a minute. Do you want to set it aside permanently, or do you want to talk about AI at all?
Well, no, it's definitely a factor. I use it every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very powerful tool, and I've seen some demonstrations. I mean, it's already been being used on documents. It's already being used on drawings. It's limitless, but again, it's moving so fast. It's hard to say where you should plop that investment. So
Yeah.
I really don't have much to add there other than stay tuned, because it's coming and it's coming fast.
Yeah, to me, that's because we're in such early stages on how to use it. That seems like a really great use for your local association, honestly, or a peer group of some kind. Maybe it's not even specifically focused, on the like an IEC chapter or something. Maybe it's something else in your local area to get the insight of people using it and how they're using it in their business. And because it's constantly moving, and who knows what you're going to learn something new every day. Every day you turn on the whatever you turn on.
There's no doubt. Unfortunately, the software providers are working very rapidly on this, and they're doing a lot of webinars and a lot of podcasts and a lot of informative presentations. So, as you just mentioned, another good reason to be involved with an association.
Yeah, I mean, my wife owns a small business where she does lighting design, commercial lighting design, and she was just this weekend messing around with AI to help her do some repetitive processes. She was like, certainly, of all the things this evil thing can help me do these. She didn't say the evil thing. I threw that in there. But all right. One thing technology can do is help a smaller business, outperform their size. Like my wife trying to do this thing to help her do this repetitive task. Do you have any insight into that, like technology that might help a smaller contractor look bigger?
I think there's a few things that help a smaller contractor sort of punch above their weight. Three things come to mind. One is technology. You got to invest in software and tools that will streamline and integrate processes, especially when you can't have dedicated people to each of these roles. You've got to find a way to do more with less. Those things are out there. Next is workforce development. You have to train. I don't care what size you are. You have to train people and products, solutions, systems. You have to train on leadership. It's not necessarily an inborn, innate thing to become a foreman or a project manager. So train people. You've got to develop your people if you want to keep them, frankly. Yeah. And the last thing I can think of for a small contractor to outperform their size is prefab. We've been talking about that for years, but either make it or buy it, but you need to be bringing things to site ready to put in place. I think you will obsolete yourself if you aren't taking advantage of the things out there that can make the job on site much, much more efficient.
Yeah, that is certainly something that I know our sides, right? The Legrands and the Gray Bars of the world, we've talked to each other about it a lot. And I think we're starting to see it creep in and get done a little bit more at the smaller size.
Yeah, it's interesting. it's still a small percentage of the overall contracting universe that prefabs.
Yep.
But the benefits are well documented. And so if I'm presenting to a group of contractors, this will be on my list of must do's. Either make it or buy it. There's plenty of opportunity to buy it.
Yeah.
And if you look at this correctly, it is a very efficient and productive way to get things done.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I often hear when I talk about it with a smaller contractor, and it's a very valid stumbling point, is I'm not building a hospital where I've got 100 repetitive rooms or 50 or whatever. I'm working on one-offs most of the time. So I guess I always think like, well, what are some of those repetitive tasks that maybe you could get done that like my wife was doing? Like she's small. She doesn't, Do you have any thoughts on that? Like what's a thing that a smaller contractor could prefab, even though they're not building out 100 hospital rooms?
Well, I mean, I guess they're going to have to look at each individual's project and see if there is anything that can be brought. But let's say we can't assemble 100 of the same thing. Maybe we can kit things or stage things or remove packaging. A lot of the services that you all provide, for example, right? Eliminating waste is a help. There's a lot of ways to streamline this process without it having to be something maybe that you just stand up into place 100 times. But I still think there's improvement to be found. And even though that might be a bespoke project, that contractor tends to do many that are similar and maybe can find a way to standardize on things. And that's a big thing too, is standardization. I'm always going to use these things. Maybe I can't prefab them, but I'm not going to have to sit and open a box and scratch my head and look at instructions because I use the same thing all the time.
Interesting. That was just in my mind. I was going to somehow try to figure out how to ask you that, because it seems like that's something you can do, is standardize on anything you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's funny. I just watching The Bear, the TV show The Bear, about cooking and chefs and kitchens and all that. And he was changing the menu every night because he's very creative, and he thought that's going to help us stand apart, that, you could go to his restaurant and get a different meal. It's a fictional thing, right? But then they ended up standardizing, right, on, okay, we're going to have these. We'll have some special things. It's like, oh, I see. That's why they do that.
Yeah.
Kind of same thing. Well, Steve, this has been great. I appreciate the insight. I do like to close our conversation by refocusing on the why of what we do. So what motivates you day in and day out? What keeps you passionate and excited about what you do?
I'm fortunate to be part of an organization and have teammates that share a culture that encourages people to go and do and be the absolute best you can at this thing. We're rewarded for collaboration and cooperation, and so that culture allows us to go do our thing. Mm-hmm. I just think that is a great motivator. I think being part of an industry too that's rapidly changing and moving forward, a lot of innovation. There's new things every day. I think that's very motivating. Being able to bring back to my organization, because of my involvement in various things in the industry, I'm able to bring back things to my organization. As much as I take out, I think that's exciting. And I think contributing to this workforce development and the idea of having a hand in the development of the next generation, I find that very, very satisfying.
Well, that's great. And that's all one of the reasons I wanted to have you on this show. And so, hey, it's been great spending some time with you on the pre-show and this, just kind of getting to know you a little bit more than our passing at shows that we see each other every year. So thank you so much for being here, taking the time. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you, Todd. I enjoyed it.
Well, that was my conversation with Steve Killius, Vice President of Contractor Industry Affairs and Programs at Legrand. You can connect with Steve and what he's working on by heading to the links in the show notes. Hey, no matter when you're listening to this, I would love to hear what you're most excited about in the world of electrical and communication infrastructure and business. And what tech or business changes are you most excited about seeing in the coming year? Please email me at podcast@graybar.com or comment on YouTube or Spotify. Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, you can help us grow the show by subscribing and by leaving a 5-star rating or thumbs up in your favorite podcast player or on YouTube. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode of Keeping the Lights On. We'll see you next time. All right, well, what advice would you give to 18-year-old Steve Killius?
Something I learned later in life, and that is when you find something you want to do, whether it's your career, your job, a hobby, a recreational activity, whatever it is you want to do, is to find a mentor. If you need to see yourself as an apprentice in whatever it is, look around, find somebody there that's doing it best, and go ask, because most people will enjoy that opportunity. They'll be flattered that you asked, and they will help you. It's the fastest way to master something is to latch on to others that are doing it.